Almost everyone has heard a completely unbelievable time travel story at some point in their lives, such as the internet-famous Backwoods Home magazine ad that read, "Wanted, somebody to go back in time with me. This is not a joke. Oakview CA 93022, PO Box 322. You'll be paid after we return. You must bring your own weapons. Safety not guaranteed. I have only done this once before." Of course, it was a hoax, as are many similar instances. But what about real time travelers? Do they exist? The idea that time, like space, could be envisioned as a dimension dating back to the late 1800s was what really sparked scientific inquiries into time travel. We can simply move through space, so why not through time? In today's video, we bring you the most mysterious time travel stories that will leave you dumbfounded. Victor Goddard. Like many other occurrences of time slip that has been reported on the grounds of individuals who claim to have done it, here is an incident that remains a mystery. It tells the account of British Royal Air Force Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard, who had a terrifying experience in his Hawker Hart biplane in 1935. Victor Goddard, an RAF wing commander, was flying from Edinburgh, Scotland, to his home station in Andover, England. While flying from Andover to Edinburgh, he chose to take the Drem, Scotland route. He flew across a derelict airfield near Drem. The airfield was built during World War I and provided little interest to Goddard. The former airstrip has been converted into a farm with overgrown greenery and deteriorating hangars. He encountered a strange storm while flying over the area. His plane was swamped by the storm's odd brown-yellow clouds' powerful winds. He abruptly lost control of his plane, causing it to plummet. Goddard became certain of his end by crashing into the mountains. He could see no ground or anything else save those strangely coloured clouds. But then he flew out of the clouds and into brilliant, bright sunlight. He was still flying over Drem Airfield, but the environment had changed. The hangars, which had previously been in disrepair, now appeared to be brand new. The airbase began to resemble an airbase with 4 planes on the ground. Those planes were painted yellow, which was never a colour used by the RAF in 1935. He noticed 3 familiar biplanes, one of which appeared foreign to him. The 4th plane was a monoplane, which the RAF did not have in 1935. There were mechanics in the scenery as well, although they weren't dressed like RAF mechanics. While the RAF mechanics wore an overall brown uniform, those mechanics wore a blue outfit. The storm overtook the plane once more, but he made it back to Andover. What happened to Victor Goddard was labelled a time slip occurrence, since what he saw at Drem Airfield did not exist in 1935. However, in 1939, the RAF was equipped with everything that Goddard had observed. The RAF began painting their planes yellow, a new monoplane was introduced to the airbase, and mechanics' overalls were changed to blue. By 1939, Drem had been turned once more into an airbase. Given all of this, the incident appeared to be a time travel instance in which Goddard accidentally entered the future while flying through the storm. While Goddard characterized the incident as a time travel case, many people believe he did it to gain attention. We have no idea if Goddard was an unintentional time traveler. What do you think of the man? Preview of an air raid. J. Bernard Hutton, a German newspaper reporter, and his colleague, photographer Joachim Brandt, were sent to cover the Hamburg-Altona shipyards in 1932. The 2 newspapermen were departing after being given a tour by a shipyard official when they heard the drone of overhead planes. They initially believed it was a drill, but that impression was swiftly dispelled when bombs started exploding around them and anti-aircraft gunfire filled the air. The sky suddenly darkened and they found themselves in the heart of an air raid. They jumped into their car and headed back toward Hamburg away from the shipyard. However, as they exited the area, the sky seemed to brighten and they found themselves in the light of a normal late afternoon. When they returned to the shipyards, there was no destruction, no bomb-induced inferno that they had just left, and no planes in the sky. Brandt's images from the attack revealed nothing odd. It wasn't until 1943 that the British Royal Air Force attacked and destroyed the shipyard, just as Hutton and Brandt had experienced it 11 years earlier. Hotel Time Warp. In 1979, two British couples on holiday in northern France were driving around seeking for a place to stay for the night. Along the way, they noticed some signs for what appeared to be an old-fashioned circus. The first building they came to appeared to be a motel, but some men standing in front of it informed the travellers that it was an inn and that a hotel could be located further down the road. They did come upon an old-fashioned building labelled hotel later on. Inside, they noticed that practically everything was built of hardwood, and there was no sign of contemporary comforts like telephones. Their rooms lacked locks in place of basic wooden latches, and the windows lacked glass in favour of wooden shutters. In the morning, as they were eating breakfast, two gendarmes wearing very old-fashioned caped uniforms entered the restaurant. The couples left after paying a charge of barely 19 francs and receiving what proved out to be very lousy instructions to Avignon from the gendarmes. After spending 2 weeks in Spain, the couples returned to France and decided to stay at the interesting, if unusual, but extremely affordable hotel once more. However, the hotel could not be found this time. They were certain they were in the same location. They spotted the identical circus posters, but the old hotel had vanished without a trace. Photos taken at the hotel did not develop. A little digging revealed that French gendarmes wore similar clothes prior to 1905. Caught in a vortex. This next story recounts an interaction between an unknown female and Dr. Raul Rios Centeno, a Peruvian investigator of strange happenings. Dr. Raul claims that he was approached some time ago by a patient who claimed to have hemiplegia, which is complete paralysis of one side of the body. She claimed to be 30 years old, but had no identification to verify it, stating she had misplaced her ID. This instance was unusual since a CAT scan revealed that all aspects of her body appeared to be entirely normal, with no evidence of hemiplegia. When the woman was questioned about her case, she told him the following story. "I was at a campground in the vicinity of Marcahuasi. It is the famous stone forest 35 miles east of Peru. I went out exploring late at night with some friends. Oddly enough, we heard strains of music and noticed a small torch-lit cabin. I was able to see people dancing inside, but upon getting closer, I felt a sudden sensation of cold, which I paid little attention to, and I stuck my head through an open door. It was then that I saw the occupants were clad in 17th century fashion. I tried to enter the room, but one of my girlfriends pulled me out. The woman then claimed that as she was being hauled out, she felt as if her body had become partially paralyzed, despite the fact that no medical checks revealed any symptoms of trauma or paralysis. This type of incident is apparently not unheard of in the Marcahuasi area, as other residents have experienced similar occurrences, with some scholars claiming the location has a type of dimensional portal. One of the questions we've all presented is what would have happened if she had walked through the cabin's front door. Rao mentioned in his medical report on the patient that he performed a follow-up, more complete EEG scan on the patient, giving slightly different results this time. While there were no symptoms of trauma, brain or blood vessel damage, he did notice a small region of tissue that did exhibit signs of being paralyzed earlier. The peculiar thing was that it appeared to be caused by a shortage of electrical current transmission to certain areas. This discovery has prompted many to speculate that the alleged dimensional gateway produces some kind of energy that can impact the nervous system and change the way our nerve impulses are confined, which could have caused the patient to feel cold shortly before approaching the cabin. To this day, no medical or scientific explanation has been given for this experience or the countless others that have occurred in the surrounding locations. Road to the past. Ken Moe told a stunning story of a time-slip incident on Highway 167 north of Abbeville, Louisiana, in the spring 1988 issue of Strange magazine. It happened on October 20, 1969 at around 1:30 p.m. A man identified simply as LC and his business associate Charlie were traveling down Highway 167. They had their windows rolled down because it was a cool yet nice day. After a bit of driving, they observed an ancient turtleback car in the next lane over. They matched its speed and pulled up alongside it. It was mint, they stated, with a 1940 orange license plate. They assumed it was on its way to a car show or that it belonged to a collector. What was truly odd was that its driver, a young woman, likewise appeared vintage. She was dressed in 1940s garb and there was a child in the passenger seat. As soon as they realized the young woman was in danger, their uncertainty transformed into a sense of urgency. She appeared on the verge of tears, Mo recalled. This prompted LC to ask the woman if she needed assistance through her rolled-up car window. She agreed with a nod, so he signaled for her to pull over and she nodded once again. LC and Charlie then pulled over to the side of the road in front of her. When they turned to face the woman and her old car, expecting her to draw up behind them, she had vanished. They were by themselves. Another car drew up behind LC and Charlie at that moment. Its driver jumped out, scared, and inquired as to what had occurred to the automobile in front of him. From his perspective, it had simply vanished. They spoke briefly before searching in a fog for an hour. The woman and her car had simply vanished. LC and Charlie wanted to keep the incident secret, while the third man thought they should report it. Are these accounts true or just stories? What happens when a person finds himself or herself suddenly staring down an unknown road, losing time, finding an object out of position, or recalling something that never happened? Tell us in the comments section.